everyone. Welcome to another Saturday morning live. And
Yes.
today is our X-Men special.
Yes, we are going to start with X-Men so that just in case you guys are like, oh my gosh, it has already been an hour and these guys are still talking about X-Men. We'll talk about it right at the beginning.
Yes,
Okay.
it's X-Men finale. So that's why it's going to be our X-Men centric pod. I am your co-host, Porcelain Piggy. And this over here is
Mighty Max Toys joining you today from a awesome California, baby. Let's go! Woo! I love it.
I love it.
So, today we're talking about X-Men. And for the most part, I'm going to be wearing this the whole time. I can actually
Nice.
see through them. And it's kind of crazy because everything does have like that tint of red. And I'm like, oh my God, is this how everything is red for Scott? That's dope. By the way, if you guys want to get yourself one of these, uh, surprisingly, all I did was go Google or put in Amazon Cyclops glasses and boom, they come out and they're like $14. They're really good. They're a little bit on the small side, but they do have
They're
like a
really
lot
nice.
of detail around, and they are based around the movie one, which is why
Okay.
they have this line across, right? But they're very sturdy plastic. Like they're not. I don't have a fear they're going to break or anything. The one thing is that if you have a big nose, they may stick a little bit higher. But yeah.
But they look really, really good. For our celebration of Sloth's win, I actually Googled those and screenshotted them so I could use them for our Sloth pictures.
Oh, these. Oh, I see.
But yes, I am dressed up as Julie. I'm wearing my Corvette jacket that I thrifted last year for the Hot Wheels event, and
Uh-huh.
also my Vinci top from our friend Crystal Alexis, and my Synergy earrings from Gemma the Hologram.
That's so cool. It's synergy. Okay, cool. There you go.
I'm
So
like, they fit the flair. They fit the flair.
no, and they're very much just like the one she wears, so it's perfectly fittable or suitable. But anyhow, today we are doing this X Men Live. Let's go ahead and get started because the finale happened and we need to talk about it. You know?
Yeah, we held up. We held off because part one was released last week. Part two was released this week, right?
Yes, early this week.
Early this week, and I had a lot of feelings and lots of scarring imagery that occurred in part one. I wasn't sure what was going to happen in part two, but here we go. It is the spoiler alert. There are some trigger warnings. We do apologize for those. We do have Jean Grey again making everything about herself, egocentric, just like putting fire on everything, just lighting people up. Next, we have lots of violence and slicing. These are true triggers, and also some mild nudes. Some mild nudes, friends.
Oh, because Wolverine always comes up in little trunks at the beginning, and then Magneto said, "Hey, why not me? I have a rocking bod. You know, why is it the Wolverine is the only one who gets to be in undies every single week? Why can't I be in undies constantly?"
So he got his chance to have his
Yeah, you
shine.
know. Also, let's not get it twisted because Beast is always in undies too. So Magneto's like, dude, everybody wears just underwear. It's perfectly acceptable in the
Yeah,
X
it's like
Men.
it's socially acceptable within the X-Men. So he's like,
Yeah,
I'm an X-Men now, so I need to do the same. I need to
yeah.
do the
People
same.
don't know, but Charles Xavier is just wearing undies when he's under that chair. You
That's true. That
know.
is pretty much true. Nobody can argue with that because we don't know.
Exactly.
Um, so we'll be talking about tolerance is extinction part one and two. I'm not sure if part two has a different title. I just
No,
know
part one and
part
two.
one was the name. Okay.
Yep,
So
yep, yep. Off to a great start, by the way. You don't even know the name of the titles. You
I'm not
said it.
even sure. It was a lot. Okay. It was a lot. I didn't know if part two had a different title, but I was like, I know it's part one and part two, so it should be the same title. It's okay. It's okay. We
You took
got this.
notes, which is great. You took notes, which is good.
I took
But
it literally just one sticky note and it's not even full of notes.
now, before we start, let me go ahead and say and remind everyone to please subscribe to our little podcast. We are the little podcast that could talking about toys as well as all nostalgia and just awesome stuff. We're like, there has been news about a brand new cartoon only network that we're definitely going to talk about, but it's going to take a little bit longer, so we're going to save it until next weekend.
Yeah, so
Today,
next time we're gonna cover a lot of the things that are getting put in the back burner today because of
yes,
this.
because this is huge, and honestly, I'm glad that we decided to wait because oh my god, the ending. But Porcelain Piggy, what is going on here? Look at that! Look at that bees! Look at that. Okay, you know what? Screw it. So yeah, look at that.
Cross your arms and just look at Cable like a proud father. So we start with the episode of Cable we know that Cable is the son of Scott and Jean's clone Madeline, and they're kind of back in the mansion. They're kind of figuring out what they're gonna do next, and he's just looking at Cable playing in the backyard with his weapons, and he looks at him.
It's so sad.
Yeah, like they have a distance. You can tell that there is distance between them. They don't have a father-son relationship yet. And Jean Grey comes in and she's like, "Hey, have you had a chance to talk to him?" And then Scott delivers a really good line. He's like, "Oh, like apparently one of his mutant powers includes vanishing from any room I enter," which is really
Uh-huh.
cute.
Yeah, I don't know. The writers have been so on point with Scott. They're giving him like the bangers of lines, dude. We'll talk about a few in the last episode, but I really like that. And honestly, I this this episode made me feel so bad for Cable. He's so sad.
He is a very sad boy. And here's where we learned that although Cable was sent to futures to have a better future, he got separated from Bishop in the timeline, like in a little timeline, time warp tube thing, and they landed in completely different places in the future. So who knows how he was raised, but we know that the future was so bad that he had to come back in time to stop it from happening.
And I love that Scott actually acknowledges, like, dude, he like I said in the future to have a better future, and then the future is so bad he comes back.
He's like, forget this.
And honestly, it's kind of like a modern real life concern that parents have right now. Like if we have kids, what kind of future are they gonna go into? There's like no ozone, like there's no water. There's
We're
like
gonna have a bunch of kids coming back, and they're like, "Stop what you're doing."
I know, like you guys suck. But anyhow, now we're at the war room, right? So like everybody's
Yeah.
planning and thinking about what's going on. Ooh.
And we finally get like a little bit of the information of what the future is actually looking like. And so Cable goes ahead and gives us a debrief that's like, "Oh, there's this guy named Bastian." And I just looked at my notes, if you noticed that, that is actually created this one virus that he's like, that I'm immune to because, I was infected with as a child. And this is supposed to be the new evolution chain for humanity that's to replace mutants, and
Mhm.
humans do like
Yeah,
are supposed to go extinct, but with this type of like biosentinel technology, they're able to kind of enslave mutants. So they're like, "Oh yeah, um Charles Xavier's future of like, humans being accepted in society, yeah, it comes true, but they're just like free labor and they're
exactly.
just exploited." And um so like Logan bites back and he's like, "Why didn't you stop this?" And Cable is like, "Well, I tried. Every time I kept going back to the period where Genosha was about to be destroyed,
Mhm.
I kept getting pulled back and I kept getting pulled back." And
Yeah,
Beast is like, "Oh yeah, there's some events in history or in the timeline that just cannot be changed and need to occur."
yeah.
So that's
And,
why.
and that's actually a reference to the larger cinematic universe. Like the larger cinematic universe establishes that there are points within the timeline that cannot be changed. Absolute points, if not. For example, the entire What If series with Doctor Strange being evil, right, revolves around that particular concept because he tries to go back to try to save his girlfriend, but it just no matter how many times he goes back, she ends up dying no matter what. And that's an absolute point, meaning that you cannot change it. It's meant to happen, right? So this is a cool reference because it kind of brings together the what if and this one, you know,
Oh,
maybe coincidental, but at the same time, it's been a very, very interesting couple of Easter eggs here and there.
yes. And so Logan, is biting at him, telling him, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And also Scott comes jumping in. He's like, "Ew, back off, Logan."
And then
And
it
we
goes like, ooh, daddy's home.
and we get that awesome steal, like steal from the image. I thought it was really funny because they do stay very true to Logan's character.
Yes, they do. I love it. And you know what? This is also a reference to a comic book cover
Ah.
where, yes, where a Cyclops is super buff, and the bottom says "Daddy's home" because he is pretty much like the dad of a whole bunch of things. So it's not something that they wrote specifically or came up, specifically just because like, oh, it fits. It's an actual reference to a comic book cover.
And
Daddy's
there's a
home.
lot of Easter eggs
Yeah.
throughout the series that like I haven't caught because I don't read the comics, but I'm sure you have caught. So thank you for bringing those up. And if you want, like maybe later on we can even do one where we just kind of highlight some of the biggest Easter eggs from
Yeah.
X Men. But we also don't want to just become an X Men live.
Channel.
But
Yeah, exactly. No, no, no.
but it's a lot. It's a lot. And so in the middle of their argument, the TV all of a sudden goes off because apparently, they were discussing all the serious stuff while watching TV, such as like
As we
90s.
do. Everybody does their work while watching YouTube on the side.
Exactly. So I'm like, it's very relevant. It's relatable. We get you. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, hey, by the way, did the mutants like fake the death of um, Xavier just to get some pity points from humanity? Because for some reason, this intergalactic message just arrived to us from the UN. And apparently he's doing fine and well marrying an owl lady. And in similar news, we also know that what's his face is dead. I forgot his name.
Bolivar Trask.
There you go. Trask is dead, and he was found in Mexico. So they're like, I'm like line, yeah. So they're looking at that, and they're like, oh, it started. But I have a question for you before we even
Yeah.
go forward. Did the X Men know he was alive?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The X-Men know he was alive because in the last at the end of the last show, right?
Hmm.
Magneto, and I mentioned it before. Magneto saves him. Magneto saves Charles from dying at the end of the last series, and but then Lilanders is like, "Oh, I can save my man by taking him to my world, away from your world, so he can be with me and not you. So because I want him for me, not for you. So so she takes Charles back. So they very much knew. So they were very,
Okay,
very
yeah,
much
because I
alive.
was like, nobody's surprised. So I'm like, I'm
No,
guessing they were in on it.
no, and nobody's crying and hugging, Charles either. You
No,
know,
not at all. He doesn't deserve it. And
again, the
it's
best mom ever. Happy Mother's Day, everybody! Best mom in the world.
exactly. And so they transition into who else is watching the TV but Jubileen and Roberto. And so they're watching TV while since they stayed over at his like ridiculously rich mom's house, who is obviously throwing a gala, a gala fundraiser to help all the victims of Genosha because the X-Men are not doing it, are not doing enough. And Jubilee kind of gets mad. She's like, we're doing stuff, but we're just not doing that.
Yeah,
And
we're
the
just
mom's
not
like,
throwing a gala.
exactly. And she's like, we're not like you people. And so that triggers a whole conversation. The mom is like, well, I believe that like a few rotten apples don't ruin the bunch. So she's like, I don't like you, Jubilee. You're not a very good mutant, but I still believe that some mutants are good, like my son. And Jubilee just goes
Maybe.
like, maybe. Jubilee just goes like, I'm putting a lot of words into her mouth, by the way, guys.
Oh, I could tell. I could tell. I'm like, this scene was like shorter than this. Uh huh.
Yeah, and so Julie gets mad, and she was just like, you know what? I don't even want to go to your gala. We're not gonna even be there. So come on, Roberto. You have a trust fund, and I have good taste. Let's go shopping.
And honestly, retail therapy sometimes definitely works. They went to the thrift. No,
Now I went to the mall.
to the mall because Jubilee's all about malls.
She
And
is.
then finally back home, Jean is back, and we focus about Jean because Jean sits next to Rogue, and it's all
Okay,
about Jean.
I
You know?
want to understand this scene because I'm like, Rogue just got beat up in the last
Yes.
scene. They didn't do no mind nothing on her. She just got
Mhm.
whooped. She got
Mhm.
whooped. She's a little bit tired, so she's sleeping through it. And this girl's like, I can heal her with my mind. I was like, stop peeking in her dreams of Magneto and Gambit. Leave her mind alone.
Dude, you
It's
think
just
that?
like you don't need Jean to do anything for Rogue.
But everybody just welcomes her help. Okay.
Well,
We've talked about this. Jean can do no wrong, so if she's there. She's there to do something very good, very special.
apparently. And wait. Go back. Because in here they have a very important conversation in which
Oh
Nightcrawler,
yes, yes, yes.
where Nightcrawler tells her, it's like, I'm not leaving her side because she's my sister. Like he's like my blood. He's like blood is blood, but family's a choice. It's like we chose to be family with Rogue. We could have been
Yeah.
bitter enemies, but we're family, and that's what we stick with each other. And that's
Mhm.
all Jean needed to hear. She's like, family's a choice, and I choose. I am the mother of Cable, and so now
Because
with her new
she
thought of
mentions
her mother.
she mentions that she felt Nathan kicking inside her, right? Like that she
Yeah.
has this kind of like ghost moments where, you know, because Madeline and her are psychically connected, right? She felt a couple of the instances of pregnancy and labor and delivery, right? So she is now, oh my god,
Mother.
or
She's
I
now
don't
mother.
want to say it, but she has in her mind given birth to a son without even going through like labor and all. She's like, yep,
Mhm.
that's me. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
so she's like,
holy.
I have the memories, therefore he's my son. So she makes that decision. She's like, we're family now. I'm
Mhm.
like, you were family before. You were her auntie. You could have taken the role of aunt,
And you know what?
but
You know
but
what?
what?
I'm on board.
No. See, okay, go next then. And with that, we can go ahead and say Happy Mother's Day to Jean because she is mother. One more
She's a
click.
mother now. Yeah, she just chose to be a mother. Consequently, happy Mother's Day, Jean.
One more click, please. And we even have a gift for her from Cable. That's the rest of mother.
And I love how Cable is giving it. But all throughout, you know, like Cable's like, you're not my mom. You're not my mom. You're not my mom.
She's like, stop bossing me around. You're not my mom. You're not her. But this brings her joy, She's mother.
And then meanwhile, we get the sauciest, spiciest, the best scene ever. We
So
have look at that bod, dude. Jesus.
so we have Mr. Sinister, correct?
Yes.
So we have Mr. Sinister over here. He's just doing like experiments because he loves experimenting on mutants. And we just all of a sudden see that this is the way that they've decided to keep Magneto
Yep.
captive, just in his speedos on an X with an anti-mutant usage collar. But I'm
Yes.
like, if the point for him not to escape is that you're keeping him in the almost nude, what's the point of surrounding him with metal?
But because he has the color, and the color is not just for looks, right? The color is also for neutralizing his power. So it's a fine. It's okay.
Okay.
Right? But then you have this. Turns out there's one woman who cannot, besides Rogue, who cannot resist Magneto and his charm, and that is this senator lady who's like, "Ooh, I want to get me some Magneto," because he
And
was right.
because yes, and because I cannot unsee it, we will now have the Magneto logo on the left.
How did you make it just constantly spin? It's hilarious.
I got very knowledgeable
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Magneto
Oh, I
working.
see. See, and then the other thing happens that you have this, reporter lady who is clearly has the hots for Beast, because again, men who only wear trunks get the ladies. Apparently, that's the message that X-Men's trying to send. It's not me saying it. I'm just saying.
I love the fact that Beast is like, yeah, I'm in the lab, so I'm wearing a lab coat, but nothing else.
Yes, such a look, such a vibe, dude. Honestly. And there's she's also in the lab and bringing him coffee. Like in the lab, you're not supposed to have food, but okay, fine.
But then again, the lab is also Beast's room. He does have his bed there,
Yeah,
so
it's food. Uh
so it's
oh.
literally just his room. They're hanging out, and so while we see that they do have a Trask in their lab, that's where we see that like yeah, Trask. No, it wasn't Trask. What's the other guy? What's the other guy's name?
Bastion.
Hmm?
Bastion.
That no, the other one, the one that rogue threw out of the building last episode.
Oh, Gyrick.
Gyrick. They
Uh-huh.
do have Gyrick in a little power chamber thing as they're trying to figure out what's in his bloodstream
Oh,
and also to figure out what if there's any more like him throughout the world. So Beast that's the important research that Beast
mhm.
is doing while the rest of the team is actually going to this one location that Cable provided to them where they
Yes.
can find some information about who this Bastion guy is. And once they arrive, they realize that it's actually his childhood home. And they walk in, and obviously, Cable, you see, he has a moment of, I want to have a family.
And then Jean says, "Wait a minute, I'm right here."
I'm mother. What are you talking about?
Let's go
And
back.
so they exactly. And so they decide to play along because they do find Bastion's mom living in his childhood home.
Again, Happy Mother's Day. Bastion's
Happy
mom.
Mother's.
Go ahead.
And so they go ahead and help her around the house. And she begins to talk about, it's like, oh, pregnancies are difficult. I almost lost him. And Jean, she agrees because she's pretending to be a mother. And they just kind of get a tour about around the house. And we can go to the next slide. And obviously, Jean uses her telepathic stuff to be like, oh, he made these drawings. Like, you don't have to be a genius to kind of know this. But, but she does hold them to have a vision of what it was like when he actually made them. And we see that Bastion was a mutant who could hear machines.
Yeah, he's like a artificial mutant. Like technology give him his powers. Like the technology is so imbued on him that is basically a power, a part of him. It's like a mutation on its own.
Yeah, it's because then we learned that his father, who was a janitor, got infected by this space future virus. And
Yep.
then they had a child, which was Bastion. But one of the things I don't understand is like, why is Bastion like so freaked out when like the voices in his head were telling him really rad stuff, like you're gonna be the best mutant ever, and he's like, man, what the fuck?
It's like, yeah, I want to be terrible. I want to be mediocre.
Yeah, I was like, they're literally you hyping you up. I don't
Maybe
understand why you're so angry.
I don't know. The teenagers are weird. But in any case, now we finally learned that okay, this person is a human, but he has this technology that's not now it's part of him, and giving him power is basically a mutant, right?
Yes.
And they're like, "Ooh, we got realization now, cool." And
Yes, and
then
he's like,
the biggest Easter eggs, the
yeah.
biggest Easter eggs happen.
So, okay, I do want you to explain this part to me because I was not paying attention, even though I watched it like 3 times to try to understand what was going on. They're talking about okay. So they realize that, yeah, he's a descendant of the Sentinels from Master Mold to Nimrod. Got it.
Yes.
And then they jump to actually Bastion talking to the screen full of evils,
Uh,
evil room. And then we have Dr. Doom pop up
yes.
on the screen. I don't understand why all these evil people are talking about memos and emails.
Oh, because okay, so there is a group of evil guys because all of these guys, Baron Zemo, who's the person I don't know if you have a picture of him. No. Okay, but Baron Zemo was there, who's also a human, right? And you also have Doctor Doom, who is also a human. He just knows how to do technology and magic. So he's like he's a little bit of both, right? He's a good
He's a
engineer
tech
as
wizard.
well as a magician, right?
Mhm.
And so they are pretty much in cahoots with the senator as well as Bastion to essentially control the mutant population because they're all threatened. Because since they are humans themselves, they're like, okay, you know what? I may be evil, but I want to be the top dog. I don't want to be subject to to mutant rule.
Mm,
Consequently, let's go ahead and do this. And they're bad already, so whatever. And they're also very rich because each
yes.
one, it's a king of their own little country, Latveria and some other German country. I think it's or Zemo. So they're pretty much supplying a lot of cash into this project, right? So that's all it is.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. It really went through my over my head. It's like they're still doing evil things in purple screens. And so Bastion does explain what he is doing. And I do want to give a little shout out to that evil scientist with a cute little yellow hair bow. Because she's like, I'm evil, but I'm still kind of cute and coquette. I will go do my hair while I dunk humans into tanks and turn them into like sentinels.
Angela robots like this.
Hmm. And so that's what we learned, that there's been a lot of humans who don't like mutants who have subjected themselves to this type of alterations to their DNA where they
Mhm.
become biosentinels. And the mom apparently is also one of them. And as soon as she gets activated, we begin to see that all the other ones also activate. Because according to Bastion, they will all activate when they come in contact or near a mutant.
Correct. So in a
And we,
way, Bastion was just like, oh, I want to make sure that humans have what it takes to kind of defend themselves, but at the same time, it's kind of weird because it takes away their free will, right? So like, yeah, they have the power to fight against mutants, but at the same time, do they lose their humanity in the process? Can they go back? And that's the big question. Can we reverse this process?
yeah, because it looks like as soon as it turns on, they all have one mindset and one
Mhm.
goal, which is destroy the mutants. And you can see, like, throughout the show, they all kind of like do the same message, like, oh, give up because we're gonna destroy you. And then because the team is pretty much split, we see that each one is facing one of these bio sentinels in their own group.
Yep.
For Jubilee and Roberto is his butler. For Beast is his girlfriend. And for Cable and the Summers family is an
Yeah.
entire village of people.
So the other thing is, at this point, we have to acknowledge that Jubilee changes her outfit from this point forward in the show, and now we have her classic. Well, it became classic afterwards, but it's more of the early 2000s, 2010s type of costume. She wore that when she became a vampire and a mother. So
Oh,
happy Mother's Day, well, Jubilee. Happy future Mother's Day. She eventually
happy
becomes a mom, single mom,
Oh,
and a
is it
vampire.
from this Roberto man?
No, I don't. Do you know what? I don't know who the baby daddy is. I don't
Oh,
think
I
it's me.
hope she does.
I know. But then again, there's nothing more complicated than X-Men children, you know.
Yes, their life sucks. Honestly, I
I
feel
know.
really bad for them. You don't want to be born to an X-Men. And so all heck breaks loose, and they begin to destroy the mansion because there were some protesters outside of the X-Men mansion after the news went out of Xavier being alive. So they all
Hmm.
felt played by the mutants, so they went to protest outside. And some of those were also biosentinels, so they began to attack the mansion. And we get a really good scene of Wolverine just slashing through folks and
Yes.
like legit just going to town on Beast's girl.
I know. And the thing is that these are still human technically. So they're nice, soft, and fleshy, which means that yeah, okay, so back in the day, they every like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had this issue, right? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles basically unalive a lot of human ninjas, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that that is frowned upon for children, right? It's not good for programming, blah blah blah. So the easy solution is to turn everybody into a robot, right? Because robots are not technically alive. Consequently, you can do whatever you want to them. So this is basically kind of like the same uh, logic here. They're like, oh, these multiple bad guys are were human, now they're robots, so it's okay.
And they also make it a thing that's like it's okay because guess what? They can regenerate or like they can
Yeah.
bring their body parts back together. So whenever he will kind of, chunk into her, it was done. Like she'll kind of fix her body as well.
Yeah.
One of the main things that they were doing, Logan and Nightcrawler was protecting unconscious Rogue because Rogue's like, I ain't waking up for this
But wait,
nonsense.
wait. Doesn't Brogue wake up because Jean was helping her? Oh wait, she
Yeah.
does. Jean
Jean
literally
was doing
wakes
nothing. She was like literally just going through her brains, like, what's going on in here?
up. I just need to make sure.
Mm-hmm. And then
But
once I realized
speaking
that,
of,
oh yes, put him in his high chair, put him in his on his like baby car seat. She's like, buckle up. Shut up, Jean.
it's okay. She's trying to be a responsible mother. Happy Mother's Day, Jean. And
To a
you know
grown
what?
man.
They had like the best kind of like this was basically a family road trip sequence in an airplane and then a car. It was absolutely great. And you know
Because
what?
remember, they're still getting attacked by all those villagers.
You know what?
And what?
I'm into it. I'm, I am into it. I think that it's absolutely great. This scene, 10 out of 10.
You know what I found? That in every time we saw this scene, Cable looks, although he's such a rugged man, he
Yes,
looks like a little child.
I know. Like, isn't that the case? Like, I have noticed that even down to the last episode, right? Cable retains a lot of its innocence type of,
Mhm.
I think that's what it is. And maybe he just never had a childhood. Maybe he just fast forward to being buff man. I don't know. It was
Yeah,
weird.
maybe he landed in the future as a man. He still have
Yeah,
baby thoughts. He still has baby thoughts.
is such a or maybe he is still just a baby, but huge. Maybe that's the
Yeah,
mutation that Sinister gave him.
yeah, maybe it's like a Shazam kind of thing.
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't know, but this sequence is awesome. There's a car inside the Blackbird, and right now, counting him, I think there's three Blackbirds of it that they destroyed in this sequence of this 6 or 9 episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
and
so
look at this.
Scott does get a compliment from Cable. He's like, "You have a Porsche?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so they do have a cute little family moment. Jean takes over the wheel with her mind, even though she's next to it. She can literally hold it, but she decides to just use it with her mind. And she's pretty much driving them, keeping them safe as they're blasting through all these bio sentinels. And then, okay, this is a part that I do need some understanding because the car was, yeah, they were shooting at it, but she could have protected it from any
Oh, totally,
damage because
totally.
her mind power was just being used on the steering wheel as is
Yes,
highlighted in the photo here. She
yes,
could have protected the car, but she
totally.
decided it's like, no, Scott got a compliment based on it. I got nothing. He's not acknowledging his mother. Let me destroy Scott's toy so we can have a cool family explosion.
Well, I do see the explosion point, right? You need to have a cool explosion because heroes don't ever look at explosions. But at the same time, you could have saved the car and kept running away or driving away. You
Yeah,
know?
because like now you're stranded.
Yes, exactly. Unless you were driving toward the ocean, which why would you do that? You know?
Exactly. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm like Jean being toxica here, always trying to be like, oh, it's about me.
All right, yeah, it's true. We don't know where they landed. It's true.
Okay,
But
and then we
again,
have this Mike, hi, this Mike. He's like, when I was a kid, I never knew X-Men had a story. I always thought it was just some random arcade game.
and in many ways, it still is. In many ways, it still is a random arcade game. Believe me. The
Honestly,
way the
it's
way the
best.
scooters are. Yeah.
Yeah, it's best to just keep it as a random, as a random arcade game. It's a lot. If you're gonna get into it now, just know there's gonna be like a hobby or a part-time job to kind of understand the rest of X-Men.
Yeah. And okay, so now we're back in the mansion, which is destroyed. Yeah, this was missing. Every single time, every X-Men story, you need to destroy the mansion. It is a must, a must, a must. And it's also why I happened to go visit the mansion that's out, for everybody to go and take pictures with, because I know eventually it's going to get destroyed.
So you're like, now just
Never
just
go to
don't
the
visit
X
if
Men.
it's broken.
I know.
And so we have well, everybody has been running away. We have like Ronaldo and Jubilee
His name is
crash
not Ronaldo. No.
Roberto and Jubilee jump into the gala because they want to be saved, and they're being chased by these biomutant cholos, and
Yes, that's the best way to describe it. They're like basically biomutant cholo.
the mom, he goes and tells mom, he's like, Mom, these guys are trying to kill us. And they literally just stops at, no, ma'am, we're pretty much not trying to, no, I say, we're not trying to kill your bruh. We nice to
No,
mutants.
Holmes.
Like, we're nice to mutants. We good. We take
We
care of
keep them
mutants.
safe. Say, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and then the mom's like, turn yourself into the nice man. And then they turn
And then she
themselves in.
failed. Happy Mother's Day. Best mother in the game. Oh, honestly,
Yes,
like I'm telling you, Jean, great mom. And
yes.
then this Roberta's mom, excellent mom too. I mean, I gotta say, Roberta was definitely right on being afraid to tell
His
his
mom.
mom that he was a mutant for sure.
Yeah, because she's like, there you go. We just use and she's like, you're ruining my gala. Go with the fine cholo, sir.
But now looks like love conquers all, because this senator lady was just like, "Oh, Magneto was right. I'm gonna set him free behind everybody's back." And so Magneto is now naked and free, not
Yes.
naked and afraid,
No.
naked and free. And
Naked
he
and free
says, "You know
brave.
what? There is no time to put on pants."
There's no time. Like you can easily build a suit, make a suit, wear a suit. But he's like, nah, I'm gonna fly to one of the poles and just use all my magnetism to turn off all of this biosentinels. Because if you remember, last Saturday we talked about how that's the only way that you can stop this biosentinels. And that's the reason
What?
they had captured and tried to destroy Magneto. So he went to the pole, kind of distorted the entire polarity of the Earth,
It's
but he
because
did stop all those biosentinels.
I wonder if Magneto's animal magnetism is part of his mutant powers.
Looks like it. Honestly, I think he just doesn't talk about it because he's like, I'm just attractive. Women just resist me. Nah, I think it's part of his mutant thing because he has evil face. I'm sorry.
So I have a little nephew on the side of my wife who, over the past 2 years, he has shifted from, or he has added another hero to his pantheon. And again, I mean, this guy's a little, he's probably like 12, if not 10, 11, around that, maybe 8, like 8, 10, somewhere around that. I don't know.
Mhm.
But the thing is that at the beginning, he was all about Godzilla. Godzilla, 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 Godzilla. Dinosaurs. His interest went from dinosaurs to dinosaurs are cool, but Godzilla. Let me talk about Godzilla.
Yeah,
Like it's like
that's a
a
good child.
cooler dino. And then he's like, "Oh, dude, now I like. Do you know what's really big too? Transformers. I love Transformers. I think Transformers is cool. So like I'm seeing his development of like, "What, this is really cool." And then Wolverine hit, and he was just like, "Oh, I love X-Men," because he got introduced through it to like Lego X-Men, and then he
Uh,
started watching the show, the first original one, and he's like, "Have you watched X-Men?" And he asks me like, "Have you ever watched? Have you heard of this guy called Wolverine?" Because I just discovered it, and I think it's awesome. Why aren't people talking about it like that? So I haven't seen him in months. So I have been dying to talk this show with him because I know he's watching it, and I was just wondering how he reacted to seeing all these heroes, right? Which were only old for him. He has actually action figures of some of them now. Uh, Actually come in and start like fighting and everything. He's just like, I wonder if he's overwhelmed like you, and he's just taking notes.
yeah, because I'm like, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like I watched the ones from the 90s, did not pay attention for most of it. I had baby brain. during that time. And then now I'm watching this, I'm like, I don't think it was baby brain. It's just this is really confusing.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see all this because I look at this picture and I'm like, there's so much going on. It's just so cool. So he
Yeah.
disrupt. uh
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So Magneto disrupts all the magnetism, which is definitely possible. He's done it in the comic book, so it's true. But then what happens is that, well, when you kind of shut down the power around the world, you also shut down the power that keeps power plants, nuclear power plants safe, right? You also are going to kind of take all the hospitals offline, which is not a good thing, right? So
The
you're creating
is offline.
you're creating all sorts of different problems for humans, right? So it's a pretty, I get it, it's an extreme decision, but one that needed to be done, I guess, in order to bide some time. But it wasn't the best decision. And then you see cameos from Silver freaking Samurai, one of my favorite old toys, chromed out, head to toe. The old toy biz. Kika had it. I didn't have it. I always loved that toy. I have it now, but geez, just seeing Silver Samurai, I'm like, ooh, we're gonna get some Wolverine Samurai action, which is great. And then Omega Red. I was just like, oh, Omega Red in Russia, the power plant. Ooh, we're gonna get some Wolverine action in the snow, you know. And then like, oh, Spider Man, like, oh, that is so cool. Which means that we might get after X-Men '97, Spider Man '97, baby. Whew,
That'd be
can't
pretty
wait.
fun. That'd be pretty fun. Because honestly, I haven't followed any Spider-Man things in a while. And I think it'll be pretty refreshing.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. You know,
But yeah, it did open up the doorway for like the next season, if they do continue the show, will be more Wolverine, you know.
yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah, I can definitely see that. This is all Wolverine's world, right? And there's a bit of a hint of what's going to happen next towards the end of the show. But at this point in time, guess who makes his way back?
Yep. We had Wolverine take a drink of his go-go juice and just went ahead and he said, like, oh, I really wish the professor was here. And guess who lands in a bug-shaped ship but the professor, and he decides to call in all the X-Men. To me, my X-Men, he says.
And everybody's like, "What? I thought you was dead, or I thought you was in space." And then face to black, spinning Magneto. We are done with the first episode, and then comes the second, and we begin with some amazing little. Um, I want to say it's an amazing moment, but it's also an amazing like, oh, okay, we're going back there because Magneto dons his iconic suit with helmet, large ribbed cape, trunks. He puts on clothes, everybody.
Thank goodness.
Yes. And this is not the only costume change that we're going to see towards the end of this episode, because this is filled with costume changes. And I really like the fact that they have the freedom to go like, oh, I'm going to wear this today. I'm going to wear
I
that
think
today.
it's also the fact that the mansion got destroyed and some of their outfits or backup outfits got destroyed, and the ones that
Yeah.
they were wearing during this battle are dirty.
Yeah, I guess so. They don't have a washing machine. So then we see like this made me laugh. So many tears. You have Wolverine. I'm sorry,
That's
Bastion
true.
crying from his mama. Happy Mother's Day.
I'm like, why are you crying over your mama? You made that.
I know, and aren't you like? But the thing is that since everything has been shut down by Magneto,
Oh,
right?
I guess that's why she stopped working.
She's like just shut down. She's not unalive. She's just stuck,
Oh,
out of
she's
battery,
home.
out of
Yeah.
juice. You know. But Bastion was crying like, I turned my mom into a robot, and I thought it was a good idea. You know.
But now she don't work.
And then Storm comes out, and she saves Roberto and Jubilee. And Jubilee has this really touching reunion moment. And I love any time they highlight Storm's motherly qualities.
Exactly. And until she comes in with her boyfriend, what's his face?
Forge.
Forge. I love that scene of her on Forge. I was like, you guys are the it couple.
I
You
know.
guys are the alphas. You guys are amazing. And you guys are sick. Everybody loves you. You have great personalities. You have amazing powers. This needs to be called the Forge and Storm Show.
Honestly, we need more of that because they are an item in the comic book temporarily until it doesn't work out, and obviously you have Storm marrying T'Challa, Black Panther, right? So, but it kind of makes sense. You gotta admit,
Oh, Forge Forever.
I
I just
gotta.
relearned his name, but Forge Forever.
So then the other thing is you have this very
Slap that hand
u-
away.
useless scene of Charles going like, "Oh, I'm back, and you know, I'm here to help," and I wanted the best for you. I gave Magneto. I put Magneto in charge because I thought he
Okay.
was going to do well, and I wanted you to be free of responsibility. So I didn't give it to you. It's like saying, you know what? I didn't give you the house. I didn't give you the car. I didn't left you all the money because I know that money's evil at the end. I'm like, really? Is this how you're gonna do it right now?
And like one of the scenes that makes me laugh from here is that the mansion is destroyed, but Professor was actually waking up from sleeping in his room in the burned down mansion. I was like, what the heck?
I'm actually glad you brought that up. I'm actually very glad you brought that up because I have been in buildings that are destroyed. I have been in rubble of buildings, right? And it's very unpleasant. There's dust everywhere, there's debris, there's funky smells, there is just an overall unhealthy amount of air everywhere, right? There's no water, there's no power.
Yeah, and he was like, "Nah, I'm gonna take a nap." Like I landed, I'm gonna take a nap in my room, which is fully destroyed. And when I wake up, I'm gonna go change into my nice suit and meet people. Like literally, he's having everyone pretend that the mansion's not broken because everybody's just living in the mansion that's been fully destroyed.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, got it. But they slapped his hand away and they're like, nah. And one thing I don't like is how Gene was just like, you guys better make this quick. I'm like, okay,
Why?
okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what her. Okay, Jean. Okay, so she's like,
That's the thing. Like, okay, before you go into your rant, then he's like, you guys better make this quick. But then every time she needs to say something, do something, or like pause everything. I need to say something. She can take all the time in her damn world.
yeah, and then they have this beautiful reunion with Ororo, and she's like, "Sister, sister." I was like, "That's funny. That's really funny, Jean." Because guess what? You were talking to Scott about how you had lost Madeline, who was like a sister to you, but you're like, "Oh, losing Madeline was so hard because I had already lost a sister." I'm like, you didn't lose Storm. She lost her powers. You could have still go visit. You could have still checked up on her. But she's like, no, I lost the sister. But now she has her powers back. It's like, we're besties again. I hate
Because
you,
we're
G.
powerful Omega level mutants forever, gal pals.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another girl who's just perfectly fine sleeping in debris, which is Rose.
Like, honestly, she went to sleep when there was debris in a different building, and she wakes up in that debris-filled building at home.
They
So it
better
makes
check her.
sense for her.
They better check her lungs because those lungs must be like saturated with dust and just terrible things.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and then Beast is like bonding with Forge because they're besties.
Yeah. And some people, there are some rumors saying that Forge is actually not so good because when he says like, "Oh, your leg isn't affected by the EMP," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I thought about this a long time ago."
Mm.
So it's just like, "Oh, so you thought that Magneto was gonna go berserk," which is pretty easy thought to say. Like, you know what, Magneto can go crazy one time, right? So I'm not sure how
To
um
take that.
how to take that. Absolutely,
Okay, that's the only time I will accept that their relationship breaks because like he's evil and she's not because she's so amazing.
I know. And then we're back in the war room, and then everybody's like, "Well, okay, we need to save these people, and we need to get the nanites out." But at the same time, we also need to convince Magneto to tell him, "Hey, can you pretty please turn the lights back on?" It kind of sucks that everybody's gonna die. And Storm pretty much confirms, like, yeah, you know what? The magnetic field of the Earth is
It's messed
not
up.
is messed up right now, and it's gonna be terrible for everybody.
Yeah, like they only have like what 12 hours or
Yeah.
something to save the Earth.
See, a Wolverine has a Wolverine thought, which is like, let's just go ahead and you know, let's just finish. Let's end the Magneto. But I'm like, dude, you need Magneto to reverse the freaking
It's
magnetism.
like
Like, stop.
he believes that like by Xing out Magneto, everything will just go back to normal. It's like
Oh, I
no,
like
like you
that.
guys still have to
Xing
figure
out. I
things.
think I think we'll adapt that instead of on the live Xing out. And here
So,
we also get a sneak peek of Rogue's new outfit.
hmm
And I love this still because Rogue is not having it.
now she's sassing him. She's like, "You were not there at Genosha. You have not been here, old man. So you stop it."
Yes. And so she's also wearing Remy's coat, which is very cute.
Yes, because she's like my man. So we know which man she misses the most. Mostly because
Yeah.
the other one's not really dead. And yes, solar winds would blow the atmosphere away without the
Magneto's.
yes magnetosphere.
Honestly, we live in the magnetosphere. It's all about Magneto. That's why Magneto's spinning in the corner of every slide, making the magnetosphere. But but anyhow, the other reference that we have to take from here is that she's wearing actually her original outfit, which her
Oh.
first appearance outfit is basically just a plain old green like that, minus the coat, of course. But I kind of find that I got mad at Charles in this one because he
Mhm.
literally says, "I think Remy should have been buried here in my house." I'm like, bro, we're free to leave anytime we want. This is not like your house isn't everything to us, okay?
Yeah, I'm like I'm telling you, he's cold. He's cold.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like, we have lives outside of this. And that's what he says.
Yeah,
Like, you should look at us more than just students because in a way, Charles is like, yeah, you guys are my students, but the world is so messed up that you guys will never leave.
it's really scary because he really believes that he has so much control over them and that they will never, turn their back on him and that they will listen to everything he has to say. That's why I find it really creepy when he says, my X-Men. I'm like, ew.
I know, right? To me, my soldier, damn. But then you have this bro science moment, which is super cute. I love this bro science moment because Beast cannot help but smile and just having so much fun thinking and tinkering with stuff is so fun. And then Aurora comes and she gives like the cutest little smile at seeing them both working together. It's like, oh, my man is working with my friend. They're having a good time. But then Beast goes and says like, oh, we're gonna use suppressor technology, and Storm was just like, "What?
You're gonna
It's,
use what? Yeah, and then they kind of like, okay, never mind, because she was like, impress me, and she was not impressed.
I was like, no, I'm sorry." And I'm like, "Okay, got it." And then who comes home? Magneto, because again, the whole place belongs to him apparently.
Yeah,
And
honestly, Xavier is legally dead in
yeah,
paperwork. He has not like applied to be alive again. So Magneto
you
comes,
applied to be. Can I apply to be alive again?
you have to do something.
I guess
So
so.
Magneto comes in and he's like, "This is my house. I'm come to collect my peeps."
And so he makes the offer, and who joins but Rogue? And Rogue's like, "Oh, here, you're going to be as useless as a coat rack now. Let me hang my coat on your head." It would have been so crazy if she actually hung it on his head. That would have been so crazy.
Yeah, it would have been really good. It's like, here you go, boom. But that's also, her leaving behind Remy and choosing Magneto over Remy yet again. Rogue, I don't know how I feel about you anymore. And then we had Ronaldo also just join Magneto.
Roberto.
It's okay. He's evil now.
And now here's another thing. We from that pan, these are the only two that join, right? We go to Muir Island, which is somewhere in Scotland. I thought that Banshee was gonna come out, but it didn't. which kind of
Oh.
sucks because Banshee is basically associated with him. And this motorcycle is actually a cameo from a toy,
Oh
right?
my god, that is so cool.
So it's so random that they decided to put that in there, you know. They have all other shows, all other like ships and wheels for wheels, and then you also have like cars and stuff. But then this one, it was just so random and so funny. The motorcycle that actually bears Wolverine's freaking head.
I'm wondering that maybe one of the animators or some of the show creators actually had it as a child,
Oh,
and they're like, "I need to
undoubtedly,
include this."
undoubtedly. But it's so funny that it's actually now canon, And then you have this really cute moment between Scott and Cable. We're just like, hey, it's I'm confused about Madeline and Jean too. Okay, let me just say that I love them both at some point, and I think they're both really strong. Otherwise, I wouldn't have loved them uh, as much as I did. Let's just kind of set that aside because yeah, you may have these two mom kind of things, but you only have one dad. Okay,
Exactly. You know who your papa is, and it's me.
and it's me. Like you can be certain about it. And he tells him, give him hell, right? And he also gives him a brand new costume. And it was just such a cute. I think this is the first time I ever seen Cable smile.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, Cable has this very innocent look to him. I don't know how he's able to do that. That he's like rugged man. He's like Magneto's face when they make him is just like evil man. But this one, like he has a lot of those H lines, a lot of scars, but yet he looks very sweet.
Yes. Again, it's a tribute. He also has wild eyebrows, but it's a tribute to his to the artist. They were able to convey that through him. It's really very nice. There's a lot of changes going on. You have Scott donning his original outfit, as well as Jubilee saying, "You know what? I'm done. I'm through. No more Roberto, Ronaldo, Messi,
Raul,
Cristiano. No
he's
more.
done.
He's done." And all of these are all references for actual comic book covers and stories. Um, Giant Size X-Men is the one that features all these classic um, costumes, right? And before that as well, right? You also have the New Mutants for Roberto's costume. This very plain type of X-Men costume actually comes from the recruits, right, from the new X-Men. And Jubilee's again her standard black and yellow, which is much more contemporary. And then we get the best scene ever.
Well, honestly, they did make some very cute scenes with Jean. And if you notice, in all the scenes, she didn't talk. She didn't ruin the moment by saying something itchy with a B at the beginning. So she was quiet and she was present, and it made it look very cute because it was wholesome, and you could tell that Scott really really loves her. I don't know about her feelings, but she's really good at pretending that she loves him too,
But she told him I love you.
and then made out with Wolverine.
That's true, but that was before. Apparently, with Gene, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter what I did 5 minutes ago. What matters right now. Right now is what matters.
Exactly.
So they have this really good moment, and they're showing that yes, at the beginning there's a rift, but now they're back together. I mean, kind of helps that Madeline died.
Exactly. I made it a little
Like,
easier.
I'm like, okay, there's a problem over. There's only one. There's only one to love. Good, you know.
And she accepts my son. My son is kind of getting, warming up to her. We'll make it work.
Yeah, and then Bastion is like, okay, you know what? Fine. If regular electricity is not going to power my sentinels, then I will. So he connects himself, and he uses his technopathy, which is what they discovered now.
Yeah.
Is oh, we need to talk about this too. It's his power, and also back in the rewind a little bit. Charles says that he actually knew about it.
Oh,
Remember?
oh yes, that's true. He says that he had actually gone to visit the mom and told her that he wanted her there, but she said, "Nah, don't come over." So I'm like, if you knew all this information that this person existed, why didn't you create a plan to protect the world and your mutants
Why? Yeah,
from
like why didn't you keep an eye on? Why do you keep tabs? Why did you leave Earth and say, "Oh, by the way, guys, I'm keeping tabs on this one kid who can talk to Sentinels, who can talk to robots, and robots always try to kill us, which this may be a problem." No, he's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna leave. Bye, peace out, see you later."
Yeah,
Like he
and
was
like that's the thing, it didn't
never
pick up on him
told.
at all because he's like full adult and he's already done so much.
I know it's wild. It's wild. So turns out that he's still a very formidable foe. He pretty much starts fighting, and look at all this action. Like, dude, they're about to die. Everybody's inside that tiny, tiny, tiny plane. And then Gina's like, no, no, no. Wait. I have to say something. And it goes through this very cute scene. It's a very nice scene, very well drawn, very well acted, very well scripted. And they have this very kind of cute line, which is cool. Make them mind your weather, make them weather your mind is
That
like
was
so.
really well written, yes.
I didn't see it coming, but again, Jean stops everything because she needs to say something.
Of course.
Okay, and then once they start taking care of their sentinels in the air, you get this amazing fight scene down in the island in which Morph transforms or morphs into Hulk. And this is a dope scene because Hulk was basically not a featured character in the original X-Men show. He was glued upon, right? Like they told him, like, oh yeah, Hulk is around, but they never showed him. Like everybody else kind of showed up, but Hulk did it. And now he's here. It was an awesome thing to see. And having Cable with his brand new hairdo too. By the way, you guys see he actually changed his hairdo and brand new outfit. This was a Marvel versus Capcom 2 moment with Hulk and Cable both fighting at the same time. It was very, very nice.
Super duper sick.
But honestly, who takes the cake is Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister is scary.
He's really cool. I love his character design. I love that
Yeah,
Mr. Sinister is like, I'm playing Bastion because all I want to do is do
experiment on people.
experiments. Yeah, experiments on people, experiments on mutants. That's what I'm here for.
No, like, and he's also mentioned like in the past, he's made reference to Nazi scientists, and he's like, dude, they're nothing. So he's definitely like super duper like wicked and evil.
Yeah.
But they managed to make his power set, a lot more scary than originally displayed in the show and the comic books. Like my wife constantly tells me, like, dude, he's scary. Like I'm scared when I see him. And I'm like, yeah, no, he's creepy. And
They did a really good job.
they have a really great fight with Jean, right? I gotta say, we've never had an action sequence of X-Men in their original costumes animated like this. So I imagine that a lot of people who didn't grow up with Jim Lee X-Men, but grew up with the original comic book only, saw this and they're like, oh, this episode's for me. This is the X-Men. I grew up. This is my X-Men. And particularly, I'm very excited for Robo, right? From Robo Don't Know, because Robo doesn't really like the Jim Lee X-Men. He doesn't like the character designs. He doesn't like the yellow and blue, right? He likes this one. Okay. And now that this one's actually show up on this one, I'm sure he was just like, yeah, this is it.
I really feel like it's been really well tailored for fans of X-Men from all places, from the old shows to the comics to the ones that are following the Marvel universe with the other cinematic pieces. So it really is tying everything together.
Yeah. And you know what? I really have enjoyed both of these fights, and I love the fact that they split them into blue team and gold team, just like they really were in the X-Men show, which is very, very nice. And over here, gold team gets into a lot of trouble, right? And then Rogue's like, "Oh, I'm gonna stop you, sugar," and then Roberto's like, "I'm gonna stop you," but they fail. Right?
Because, and this is the thing. Roberto actually was pretty nice. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Javeline," and Javeline's like, "Nah, I'm mad. Now I'm gonna punch you, Raul." And she goes all mad.
Raul, Roberto. And
Very well.
then the best line in the entire episode: "Shut up,
Shut up, Charles. Like
shut up, Charles.
he did what we all wanted him to. Because I'm like, Charles, you're not doing anything. You're literally just sitting there.
You've been talking since you got here, bro. Like Jesus, you talk to the president, you talk to me, you talk to them, you talk to everybody, you talk to us, you talk to everybody, and pretend people are listening to you. Like, dude, shut up." And
And
honestly, it was,
now we know where Gene gets it.
I know it's true. And then you see, it was like, well, you know what? Even when I have a muzzle over I can talk in my mind to you directly.
I'm
And
gonna
then
talk to
Cyclops like,
you.
okay, I'm trying to fight here, and he's like, no, you have to like go ahead and take off his helmet,
So he
and
can hear me again.
he can hear me again, right? Because I can't speak normal right now. And on the other side, they're definitely fighting, and the fight is going pretty well. And they make their move. The X-Men make their move to try to put the collar on Bastion, but unfortunately, Bastion knows that Mr. Sinister would never risk his life for anybody but himself. So he says, "Oh yeah, you're Morph." And then Beast comes in, and unfortunately, he fails. So at the moment, it doesn't look like they're going to succeed. Like they got
Yeah, they need a
close.
little bit more time.
They got close. The collar hasn't been destroyed yet, but it's in his possession, right? So we don't know what's going to happen. And we see the tide of battle turn because now Cable is also under the control of Sinister. And Aurora and Forge had this really cute moment where they see each other through the glass, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really last too long. Storm is shut down. Forge is also shut down. What happened? We don't know. And then Cable fights against Jean because he's like, "You're not my mom." And then
Finally, like he's going through his teenage rebellion against her. It's like, you're not my mom, and so now she has to deal with it. And he goes full on like Marvel versus Capcom special.
yes, it's so good. And I love the fact that I struggle to take this picture because it's so fast. This one bit of animation with all the action lines are there, right? They actually make the letter X, the symbol in his eyes, so cool. I was just like, damn, this is so cool. But it definitely looks like whenever they're activating their special powers, like, oh, so nice. And this is a really cool scene too, because Jean is holding back, right?
Mm-hmm.
The telekinetic blast from her stepson, right?
Yes.
From Cable. And then Jean was just like, ooh, let me go ahead and connect with Cyclops because they do have that link and bring him here so he knows what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in
So he can
here,
see his son acting up against his new mom.
I know. So, like, he needs to discipline this boy. But the thing is that there are a couple of things that happen here. We don't know the end of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's going to happen, but everybody knows, right? In this case, Jean says, "I love you," which was just like, oh my God, I love it. And New Rockstars was actually very clever to point out that the red kind of dissipated all the blue across the visor like a health bar in the video game.
Very
And I was
nice.
just like, I
So
didn't
that's
catch
all that she
it.
lost.
Yeah, so she's definitely like, withstanding the attack, but she's losing HP. And you know what happens when she loses HP? When she gets
Phoenix.
exactly when she gets in the field. That's the way that the Phoenix works. When she gets to the last little bit, Phoenix comes back. So we may be seeing a relationship that was reconstructed only to be destroyed once again. Because again, rule number one about X-Men: they can never be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other side, you're like, okay, title battle also shifts. Wolverine is able to take Magneto's helmet, and Magneto's like, I really like this face. Like you can tell he's like super intense. And then Magneto's like, oh shoot, I'm not wearing underwear.
It's like, I'm fully dressed. I need to be in my underwear so my magnetism can work better from my wang, my magnetism.
My magnetism. So now they have this entire really cool sequence of colors and very vibrant drawings, right? Showing that, dude, Professor X has some ridiculous power. You
Mm-hmm.
know, very, very, very scary. But he ultimately isn't successful because Cyclops hits him with an optic blast and tells him, "No, I'm taking charge. And I know you got this thing going on, but we also have to think about the mission at large. I know what's going on down there. You don't. If you would be focusing on them too with your incredible mind powers, you would have known. But
Mm-hmm.
I know, and I know what's best for the team." And then Wolverine says, like, "Well,
Pew pew.
screw it." And Wolverine gets
Three. I don't know how to make the
happy,
three for Wolverine.
skint happy,
Three.
and goes ahead and actually just skewers, kebabs Magneto. It's just done.
Yeah.
And
He's like, I'm
Magneto
gonna
says,
X you out, Magneto.
"Yep." And he just like, "Oh, like, in war, blah blah blah." And it was such a great scene. Rogue is like, "Oh man, I done messed up again."
Mm-hmm. She's like, my other man is gone. My two men are dead.
And then
That's the
Cyclops is
quote
like,
from Harvey Birdman, guys.
"Oh man, I don't even know if the move I made was right." It's just like, I don't know. Maybe I should have shot Wolverine.
Yeah, he's like, oh man, I made a move for our team, and Wolverine just made a move because he could move.
Exactly. But then you get like the final scenes in which Magneto says, "Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and show you that having metal inside your bones is just dumb because you're not gonna fight against a master of magnetism with metal hands." So boom, removes all the adamantium from his skeleton. And my wife, bless her heart, she just could not comprehend what was going on. She was
Now
just
my
like,
sons
"Wait."
watched it. I stepped out of the room for a little bit to get like something, and then when I came back, my it was over. I was like, "What happened?" He's like, "Wolverine's dead." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Wolverine's dead." So I was like, "Let me rewind it." But he was just like in a state that he was just like, "Seems like Wolverine's dead. They killed Wolverine." And I was like, "What happened? What do you mean?" And then when I saw, I was like, "Oh, they squeezed him out."
See, like my wife is the same. It's just like, "No, honey, he's not dead because he still has bone claws." And I was like, "What? But
Oh,
aren't
that's
his
true.
aren't his claws made out of iron?" It's like, "Yes, honey. His skeleton was fused with adamantium.
But
So you remove the adamantium, you still have bone claws. You still have bone skeleton like a
and
regular
he can
person."
still regenerate, so he's
Yeah,
okay. This
exactly.
is
So,
an image of a Wolverine that's okay.
yeah, I mean, Wolverine can withstand a lot of pain. Is it hurting him? Oh yeah, it's not hurting him. It's like he's definitely in pain, but will he survive? Yes, yes, he will. Because it is Wolverine, and we saw Silver Samurai, and we saw Omega Red. It's coming back,
Yeah,
right? But
so his
now he's gonna
arc
have bone claws,
finished.
right?
Hmm.
And it kind of completes the transformation because now Wolverine it's in the brown suit and with bone claws, which is really cool. But again, bone claws are not as effective as regular blade claws,
It's
right?
true.
But at the end of the day, we finish the show and we say to Gene,
Oh
"Here's."
God, no! Why are they? Why are they cheering to Gene?
I have no idea. Maybe they're remembering her. I'm not entirely sure. But what's to come? Well, we can expect the Phoenix Rising, and also Onslaught, which Onslaught is pretty much the physical manifestation of Charles Xavier's mental powers. And it's kind of like a combination between like Magneto and Charles. So
Oh,
if that happens, which we actually got a little clue right here with him wearing the helmet,
oh,
right?
I see.
Right. If that happens, we may get Onslaught in the next series. But
Mm.
unfortunately, that was it. There is no more episodes until further notice, and I am sad.
But if you bring the slide up again, I did add one more thing at the end because if you have not
Oh,
yet had enough X-Men, there is one thing that you can do.
what is
Let
it?
me see. Let's see. If you go, there it is. And that is visit the X-Men mansion that has been done in 2D style, but it is a real Airbnb that you can stay with your friends. It's just $97 per friend. And you guys can pretty much roam the X-Men manor. I think they're choosing individuals who can kind of like apply for a stay, and they're only allowing like 4,000 people to be able to go into it or reserve it. It is located in Westchester, New York. So
Oh
if
shoot! So it is in New York.
yeah, so if you don't mind a short flight and a gacha style raffle for you to stay there, hey, there's a little bit more X-Men for you.
That is super cool. I honestly think that what they did was pretty darn amazing. Like it looks really good. Like considering I was looking at like, dude, they have a danger room.
Yeah, no,
That's
it looks awesome.
like, why would you put so much effort into something that is just temporary? Like this looks so good.
Well, they did something similar when Barbie came out, and they also had a whole like Barbie mansion, for Barbie Land. And then like after a couple of weeks, it changed into the Ken takeover. So it was the Casa House.
I am flabbergasted. This is a lot of detail, and I kind of want to go. So I will send my application.
We should, yeah, we should because I guess you get to choose what room to sleep on.
Can you even sleep in those beds? They look like
I don't think so. I don't know. They're not saying much about it. It's
I
pretty
think
much
it, I think legit the Airbnb is behind it, right? I think the
maybe,
mansion, the or a wing of the mansion is just regular, but
yeah.
another wing has just been themed, and I don't think you can sleep on those rooms.
I agree. I feel like it's that like it might just be like I know for the Barbie one you really couldn't stay. You would just go for like the event that they were hosting that day.
Yeah.
And that was about it. But yes, guys, this was everything X-Men that we had up to now. Thank you for sticking around with us. That was an hour and 17 minutes of only X-Men. So if this was not your cup of tea, don't worry. We don't do this every single Saturday. We do not just talk about X-Men every Saturday. And moving forward, since X-Men are pretty much done for now, we will be talking about other upcoming events, toy releases, shows that are coming up, other Instagrammers that are also toy centric, and events that are happening near us as well. So if you guys have watched X-Men, please give us some comments. What are some of your favorite scenes? What are your most like hated scenes? What are the best quotes of this season? And all of the above. Anything else you want to add before we scurry out?
I had a lot of fun watching the show. I think was really really cool. I'm looking forward to the next season. I really hope it doesn't take forever to get here. But there's a lot of different things that are going on right now, and let's go ahead and put in pause and say Happy Mother's Day to every single mother who is out there, because it is, after all, your little 2 days that we recognize you, and hopefully we use these days to remember that literally, like my mom says every day is Mother Day. You just need to call
Mm-hmm.
her. So go out, call your mom, and then go get some toys. Now, that said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, help us get rid of Duck, right? But until then, we'll see you guys next time